Breakfast time. These are good strawberries. Oh, and there's your pancake. And then Presley is building, but he's supposed to be eating breakfast too, right? You gonna eat your breakfast? Yeah? There you are. Hello everyone, my name is Chelsea and welcome back to my channel. Today is the first day of the Choose Your Own Adventure Readathon. This is a readathon that I have created by myself. We did around 2 years ago in 2021. We skipped last year because I had a newborn. It was just not possible. But last time was sci-fi themed, Star Trek specifically. This time is fantasy themed. I did actually put the link to the readathon story up yesterday afternoon. I think it was afternoon here. So some people have gotten a jump on it. I have not yet. But it's been very interesting to see some of the first choices that people are making, because the thing about this readathon is that once you make a choice, that is when you get your prompt. You need to finish your book before you continue on, and that's what we're going to be doing as well. But because there are different choices to make, people are going to get different prompts. Not everybody is going to have the same prompt. So I personally love it that way, and there are multiple choices to make throughout the readathon. So we're going to pull up the readathon page. Okay, so here we do actually have the readathon. As you will see, it is the Choose Your Own Fantasy Adventure Readathon by me. So we'll just start. Once upon a time, a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, in a hole in the ground, there lived a hobbit. No, none of these are quite right. Have you ever dreamed of living in a fantasy world, of going on an adventure of your own, solving puzzles, fighting monsters, claiming treasure? Welcome to the Choose Your Own Fantasy Adventure Readathon. How does this readathon work? Now, it's going to start with how you actually are supposed to do the readathon. I do also have an announcement video in case you want me to talk through it, but basically it's based on Choose Your Own Adventure books. That means for the most authentic experience, you will not get your prompts until you make a choice. You should also not move forward until you have completed the prompt. So let's go over some rules. In order to complete this readathon, you will need to complete the story. You will need to reach the end of the adventure. There are 4 mandatory prompts and 2 optional, but encouraged if you want the best ending prompts. And if you make it all the way to the end of the story, there are thousands of different paths you could take. Now, in the first readathon, we actually had like a specific number of endings, and it had like a specific number of different choices. This time we have less actual endings. I think there's 4 endings, and like one of them is a secret ending anyway, so it's a little bit like less endings, but the different paths you can take and then the different choices you can have on those paths, they do add up to thousands of different ways to do this. Like, I doubt there's going to be somebody that's going to have the exact same story. We'll see as we go, but I doubt it. The choices that you make will give you your prompts, but will also affect your story. They can take you through different monsters and threats, and even cause you to die before you get to your destination. It is true. Don't worry, you can still complete the readathon. Just know that this story is not without its perils. As long as you make the choice that you're happy with, you'll have fun. There is no backtracking during the story. Once you get a prompt, you do need to complete it before moving forward. However, you can combine prompts. So if you've read a book for your first prompt that also completes your second prompt, you can be done. If you do want to read a book for every single prompt, you can. That's actually, I think, what I'm going to do. I know Elliott wants out of her high chair. She finished her breakfast. That's probably what I'm going to do. However, if you're able to combine those prompts, you can. It is a 2-week readathon. The minimum number of prompts you need to complete is 4. Since it is a 2-week readathon, you actually won't be seeing this vlog until we're done. But I will leave the links up for the story in case you're coming to this late, or if you ever want to revisit what we're doing here, you can. If you have questions, we do have the announcement video. We have the Discord. The Discord is where I'm seeing a lot of people's like, this is the book I picked, and from that, sometimes they're giving like what their actual like prompt or choice was. Sometimes they're not, but I was able to sort of figure it out a little bit based on what I know the prompt is for where they are. There will also be 2 prizes up for grabs. This is the same as the last readathon. By the time you guys see this, it might be done. There's a Google form that people can complete. Once they finish the readathon, you'll put like what kind of stuff you read in there, what path you took, mostly so I can also see like where you went, what data you have, that kind of thing, but then you'll be entered to win a prize. There is also content warnings for blood on one path specifically and possible death. I mean, we did talk about the fact that you can die in here, but those are the only content warnings that I thought needed to potentially be in here. If you have any more specific questions or want to know specific content warnings for like a path that you're going to take, people can always ask me, but I did want to say that in there. So the first step we now need to take is, who are you? So this is going to be our first major decision. You're about to start your journey and this will be your first major choice. Yes. Just who are you? What race will you be in this fantasy world? Okay, Elliott's joining us a little bit, but we have human, elf, dwarf, and hobbit. Currently, there are some prompts that you can actually read through what the options are, not the prompts. You can read through the choices before you actually pick. You can't see the prompt, you can just see like what these are about, and we'll go through them. But then later on in the story, once you make a choice, that's it. You don't get to like look at anything, and it will say get prompt before that comes up. So the different races we have human. Humans are most populous in cities and have a variety of body types, statures, and jobs. They can do anything they put their mind to. In this story, humans gain a boost to cunning. Are you a human? So you can either say, yes, I want that prompt, or you can go and look at other races first. You can go back to human if you want. Elf. Elves are most likely to be found in dense forests. They can live very long lives and have the skills to prove it. In this story, elves gain a boost to dexterity. Are you an elf? Yes or no? Then we have dwarf. So dwarves live under the mountain, only coming up to the surface rarely. They are shorter than their human or elf counterparts, but have the muscles to make up for it. In this story, dwarves gain a boost to strength. Are you a dwarf? Yes or no? And then the last one we have is hobbit. Hobbits are a quiet folk. They are the shortest of the bunch, but that means they are often underestimated. In this story, hobbits gain a boost to constitution. Are you a hobbit? So, so far, I do actually think humans are the least chosen. Dwarves I really thought were going to be, and they're quite down there as well. The majority have picked elf, which I'm not like upset about because that's actually what I'm going to pick. We'll go through that. But hobbits are a very close second for most picked, which I love. One person mentioned that it was because like if they had to choose out of all of these races like what they would actually be, they would want to be in a hole in the ground at home reading, which, you know, makes 100% sense. So I mentioned before, we're going to pick elf. The reason I'm going to pick elf is outside of everybody picking everything, outside of the prompts, which I do know what they are, if I was going to make a choice, I always pick elf first. I did the same thing like when I played through Dragon Age games, Dragon Age Origins, and Dragon Age Inquisition. My canon Dragon Age character for Origins is actually not an elf because I knew other stuff that happened later, but like I picked elf first. Dragon Age Inquisition, my canon character is an elf, but like I always pick elf first. So taking away all the external knowledge that I have of other people picking things and what I know what the prompts are, I could pick something for every prompt we have here, but I'm going with elf because of the fact that that is what I would pick in the first place. So we're going to get our prompt, which is to read a book published before 2015. Now, Elliott's stealing things over here, but now, this prompt was originally going to be to read a book published before 2010. So that's what I'm going to go with. I did move it to 2015 because when I was looking for books that I had to like make sure that this was a legitimate choice for a prompt, I have quite a few things published before 2010. But if I go on my e-reader, my ebooks, the earliest book I have on my e-reader is published in 2011, so it wouldn't have worked. And I was just thinking, I'm 33. Some people that are doing this are probably going to be older than me. Some people are going to be younger. I feel like a lot of people that are very into booktube stuff, readathon stuff, are actually younger than me. Maybe not by much, but like in their 20s. And how many of those people actually have something on their current TBR, because I didn't want people to have to necessarily go find anything too crazy, from before 2010. And actually we did have somebody in the Discord say they had to hunt for a book published before 2015 because some of the stuff that they had was 2015 and later. So they really had to go find something for even 2015. So I'm glad I moved it back, but for the sake of just me and like fun facts for you guys, for what I did, I'm gonna go with 2010. So I need to find a book that was published before 2010. And we're actually gonna stop the story here. I'm gonna save the link, I guess, on my laptop. When you go back to it, it'll take you back to where you were. It like remembers that for you because you can't backtrack. So like we're gonna save it there. And then we're just gonna like head over to Goodreads, and I'm gonna figure out something that I want to read from before 2010. Okay, so now I have a lot of like Sherlock Holmes, Anne of Green Gables. Those are very much before 2010, like early 1900s. The Sherlock Holmes that I have are actually early 1900s. Some of those stories, Elliott's being so loud, some of those stories are from like the 1800s. But the ones I have are from 1900s. And then like Anne of Green Gables, I have a lot of Star Trek novels as well. However, I feel like I want to try and potentially get something that's going to be sort of quick and easy to read. I also have Stephen King. So a lot of the things that I do have before 2010, again, were things that I wasn't sure everybody's going to have. Are people realistically going to have a whole bunch of Anne of Green Gables novels to read, or Star Trek or Stephen King? Not necessarily. So that's part of the reason I changed it. I want something quick. I want something that I can read within the next day or so, because we're going to be doing some sprints tomorrow, and I have a problem because I know what the next prompt is, and I can't choose between two of them, so I want you guys to help me during the sprints. So I need something that's going to not take too long to read, that I can then, you know, read as we go. So, there's quite a few good ones on here. And then now we're getting up to 2010. Okay, so stopping here. I'm thinking I might want to pick one of my mass market paperback books, because I haven't read one of those in a while, and I feel like that could be a good thing to do. I also have not been having a bunch of time to read lately, so I'm at the point where I'm like, what do I do about this? But I have some that look like they might not take too long to read. Okay, I'm back. So I think what I'm potentially gonna go with is this one. It's Last Dance by Linda Joy Singleton. This is one that I've read before, so this would be a reread for me. But it's something that I have not read since I was like 18 or 19. This book originally came out in the really early 2000s. It's now out of print. It was originally published in 2005. And then I do have the third one potentially as we continue on. That this would be something that's currently on my TBR. This was published in 2006, so I don't know if I'm going to read both, but I do want to reread the second one before I continue. It's, the second one at least, Mass Market. It's like 200 something pages, 242, and this is like a paranormal YA witchy sort of thing. The first book involves our main character trying to save another girl in school after she's like seen her death or something, so I think this is what we're going to go with. Okay, so it is lunchtime. Elliott's over here eating with us. I made her some pasta with butter and Parmesan cheese and peas, which she's loving right now. Yes, and then there's Presley in a bucket. I'm having leftovers, but I wanted to say I got 55 pages into my book, which is Last Dance. I just didn't bring it over here. And so far, I mean, I've read it before, and I don't fully remember like everything, but it appears that like our main character of Sabine is going to be going on a sort of quest, which I guess works for the readathon, but she's looking for something that was like from her ancestors that nobody knows where it is. It's supposed to be like charms for a bracelet or a necklace, and then I think it's going to lead to like a book of remedies of stuff. So we'll see how that goes. That only took me like 20 something minutes to read. Elliott took a nap on me earlier because she's just been a little off schedule lately, even though she's trying to do like one nap a day, but it was like really early, like 9:30 or whatever. And I could have read more, but I've been dealing with like vertigo sort of stuff, like an inner ear thing, and so I was just not able to do more than like the first 6 or 7 chapters. It was like 55 pages. I'm glad I got some into it, but that's part of the reason I also wanted to pick a shorter book. Like this is only 240 something pages, because I want to do another book tomorrow evening when we do reading sprints, and so I was like, I don't know how quickly I'm gonna be able to get through it, so we'll see. Oh, a cat trying to do the piano. Yeah, Saoirse. So silly. But so I guess that's the update for now, because it is lunchtime. I'm gonna try and read more later, but I am dealing with that fun dizziness every so often, headache, that kind of stuff, so I don't know what that noise is. Okay. So it's actually Wednesday morning, but we're gonna pretend for a second that it's still Tuesday, because I never really got to fully update you guys yesterday. We had Presley's OT appointment in the morning, and because I was dealing with vertigo symptoms and stuff recently, my husband drove us, but that means we were out for a while. I did actually finish Last Dance by Linda Joy Singleton. This is the second book in the Seer series. I think I talked about this a little bit, but it's very much like this girl, Sabine, trying to go on like an adventure or quest or like searching for something that's going to help her grandmother who is getting sick, but it's like a magical sick. But we don't really get answers to that in this book, because we then get sort of taken to a different mysterious thing happening with ghosts. I have read this previously, but it was forever ago. Goodreads says I gave it a 5-star. I don't think it's quite there. I think I'm gonna give it a 4 because it is still very fun, but the writing is just not something that you see in YA books nowadays. Like, this came out in the early 2000s, so it's just not up to par for me anymore. But it's not even necessarily to say that it's written juvenilely. It's just not as good as I would have expected. But I do want to still continue the series eventually, so I did finish this one for my first prompt, which means we then need to go back to our story, which I will put here for you. It says, the sun is shining brightly as you emerge from the forest and take the main road into a new town. As an elf, you are more used to the forests around towns such as this. You feel the absence of the foliage, and the bright sunlight surrounding you makes you feel more out in the open as you make your way past the town wall. You walk down the main road, passing houses and shops. Some of the people of this town are out and about, but don't seem to pay you much mind beyond a brief glance. Maybe seeing an elf is a common occurrence here. You're walking past an alley when you hear a psst. You slow down in your tracks and look into the alley. You can see a figure in a cloak standing just out of the light about a quarter of the way down the alley. Psst, come here, will you, they whisper. You look around yourself quizzically. Me? You ask, pointing to yourself. Yes, newcomer, come here, will you? We have two choices now, to either go over to the mysterious stranger or be like, nope, not doing that. I think we're gonna say nope, not doing that, mostly because I think it's funny. It doesn't really do much. You slowly shake your head. You might have come to this town for a change of pace, but dying in an alley is not what you signed up for. You start to take a step back when the mysterious stranger clears their throat loudly. Ahem. You get your butt over here before I bring it over here. There is an authority in their voice that makes you quickly but meekly join them in the alley. Thank you for joining me. They take off their hood and you can see their face for the first time. They have mid-length brown hair and are taller than you. You realize that they look completely average, although most humans look the same to you. Maybe the hood was for the mystery of it, you think. Hi, what can I do for you, you ask. I'm so glad you asked, they smile. There is rumor of a one-of-a-kind book, and I'm looking for a traveler to retrieve it for me. And of course, we're looking for a book. I mean, if we're gonna do a readathon that's choose your own adventure and we're gonna go find treasure, it's going to be a book. What's the catch? What's the catch, you ask? Not exactly a catch, they reply. It's a couple days' journey from here, and I'm no longer up for the journey. They pull back their cloak to reveal that they are missing their right leg from the knee down. You notice that they seem to be leaning on a crutch under the cloak. I won't say the journey won't be without its dangers, but this book is worth it. You like books, yes? You find yourself nodding. Excellent. You'll want to get a move on soon if you wish to start your journey today. The book is in an abandoned temple that can only be accessed off the southern road outside of town. Also, if you are low on supplies, you can stop by the town shop up here on the left. You never know what you might need. You find the shop that they pointed out. You turn back to speak with the human again, but they are gone, and you never even got their name. Nevertheless, you guess it is time to start your journey. Would you like to go to the town shop to stock up on supplies? I'm going to say yes. This is where we have an optional prompt that I want to do. Ding! The bell over the door rings to let the owner know that you have entered the shop. A short but stocky man pops up from behind the counter. Welcome to Powerful Pete's Pawn Shop. I'm Pete. How can I assist you today? We have two options. We can ask about our journey, or we can browse the magical items. I'm going to start with asking about our journey, just because that's usually what I would do. I usually like to ask about stuff in games and things like this before we make decisions. So, hello Pete. I was hoping you could give me some information about the area outside of town. Planning a journey, are you? He asks. Yes, but I want to know what I'm getting myself into, you reply. Of course, you can never be too careful. I can't tell you too much because I don't leave town often, but I do know there are two ways out of town. The first is through the mountains. There is an abundance of rocky terrain, and some of the path goes straight through it. It's not for the athletically weak, just keep that in mind. I will, thank you. And the other option. The second is the forest, Pete begins. It's densely wooded, although there is a distinct path through it so you can't get lost. I'm very at home in the forest. I doubt I'd get lost. Pete looks you up and down and agrees with you. But don't go in the forest by yourself at night. Why, you ask? There have been many stories about spirits in the forest. Groups of travelers have been spooked by them. I wouldn't want to see what happens to a lone adventurer. Thank you. That's all I know, says Pete. Would you still like to browse the magical items? Yes. So thank you for the information. If it's all right with you, I'm going to browse now. Pete acknowledges you and goes back to whatever he was doing behind the counter. You see a plethora of items all around Pete's shop. While you're not sure what to expect on your journey and the amount of things in the shop could be overwhelming, you notice 4 items that stand out. You decide to check them out. So the first we have is a potion bottle. You pick up the bottle to see light green liquid swirling in it. I see you found the invisibility potion, says Pete. Does it work, you ask? I'm not actually sure. I'm not the one who brewed it, but I can give you a good deal. Do you want to buy the invisibility potion? So once you decide to buy an item, you get a prompt. I'm going to say no. We're going to look at some other items. We have a sword. You make your way over to the short sword. You lift it and realize that the heft and balance of it is near perfect to your liking. Do you know how to use that thing? Pete jokes. I've had some practice, you call back as you take a practice swing. Just don't take my head off with it, Pete laughs. Do you want to buy the sword? No, we're going to keep looking. We then have a spellbook. You have to admit that the reason you wanted to check out the spellbook was because it was pink. You've never seen a pink spellbook before. You open the cover to the wonderful smell of old book and start scanning the pages. It's nothing but love spells, Pete finishes. Yep. You look at him with a question in your eyes. He shrugs. I don't judge what people bring in or what they take from here. You never know why they might need it. Do you want to buy the book of love spells? We're going to keep going. And then we have a rock. You'd taken the rock behind Pete's counter. It's palm-sized with eyes drawn on. A little card sits next to it stating that it is a pet rock. Made that one myself, says Pete. The kids love them. It doesn't move. It's simple and very cute. Do you want to buy the pet rock? So, with these items, I find it very interesting that quite a few people have picked the sword because they want to be very well prepared for their journey, which makes sense. We've had a couple people pick the invisibility potion, and then we've had only like 1 or 2 people each pick the love spellbook and the pet rock. Mostly because people are like, how are these things useful? That is exactly why I was stuck between the spellbook and the rock. I know what the prompts are, so I was trying not to pick with prompts, but I know they are sort of weird, kooky items, and that's always the kind of things that I gravitate towards. So I was like, I know I want either the spellbook full of love spells or the pet rock. On stream last night, I had people choose, and they chose rock for me. So we're gonna actually get the prompt, which is to read a book with a 1-word title. Now, I didn't tell you guys during stream what reason what the prompt was, why I picked the book I did, but I did pick Charming by Jade Linwood. This I did talk about in stream because I was reading it during sprints, but it was an arc that came out technically on Tuesday. Yesterday I was a little bit behind, but so far I'm like about a quarter of the way in. I want to read more today. I will also put some clips in of me talking about the beginning of the book as well, because I actually did talk about it on the live stream on the sprints, so you guys will see that next.
You all did pick The Rock for me, so I started Charming by Jade Linwood, which is an arc that is coming out today. I'm behind. Coming out today, and it's supposed to be like a Prince Charming is not so charming sort of story, where he like saves princesses and then absconds with their money. So, so far the humor is very interesting in it. They talked about like his valet has a voice that sounds like a frog drowning in yogurt, which is, you know, an image. So it's supposed to be like John Tucker Must Die meets something else. I'm trying to see if they have it on Goodreads or not, but like that's a movie that came out like when I was in high school that I loved. So, and I like the tagline. It says, "He'll pick your pocket while he's stealing your heart." So, this is a 300 and something page book, which was a downside to it, but it's an arc, which is an upside. Whereas the book that I was going to pick, if you guys all picked Spellbook, was like 100 and something pages, but it wasn't something I needed to read necessarily. So trade-offs, but so far it's interesting. I'm not like super far into it. I'm currently now on 23% of my book. So I don't know how many pages I've read so far, but that's a little bit more than last time. I'm not entirely sure how I'm liking it right now because, like I said, it's like the John Tucker Must Die fantasy sort of thing. The princesses, like, so like the part that I read first was like one of his heists, like go save a princess. It was like a Rapunzel, or not Rapunzel, Sleeping Beauty sort of thing. And then he leaves. And then we start again with basically Sleeping Beauty meeting Rapunzel and Snow White. They have different names, but like they give you enough hints that you know. The whole rest of everything that I've read so far is Snow White's story, the way that they're doing it in here, but it's literally just that. Like we haven't gotten anything else about this prince yet, like at all. And so I'm just at the point where I'm like, you're taking too long to get to the point. So we'll see how it goes. I'm just like, hurry it up, please.
Okay, so I read some more of Charming while Elliott took a nap this morning. She took a nap at 9 a.m. because we woke up early. She woke up at like 5:40 this morning and didn't want to go back to sleep, which is earlier than normal. And then I took something away from her and told her no, and she was pissed. She screamed at me and screamed at me until I eventually just held her and she went to sleep. So while she was napping, I read some more in Charming. I think I'm now... Is it a full 40% in? I don't know. But we basically got the backstory now of Dr. Rapunzel. Still haven't really gotten into the actual John Tucker Must Die element of this. And so it's taking forever for me. But one thing I wanted to mention, because I didn't mention it yesterday, because I was holding out hope for more of a fantasy aspect to the story, but we're having some very uncomfortable descriptions of people and their bodies, and it's not like in a horror way. So basically at the very beginning of the story we have the Prince Charming character, who is obviously gorgeous and beautiful and all this kind of stuff, and then we have his manservant Roland, and he is described in ways that are not flattering, but like not that he's necessarily a bad person, but like the way he looks, like he's very short in stature, he's fat, he smells bad, he picks weird things to eat. And while this is very uncomfortable, I was holding out hope, and I'm not done with this book necessarily yet, but I was holding out hope that there's maybe he's not human. Maybe there's a reason we're getting these sort of descriptions, and it's supposed to be a bigger hint for something. If it is, I haven't gotten there yet. But then we get into Dr. Rapunzel's story, and in this story, she's an orphan from the orphanage, and she gets adopted by the person who ends up being like a witch. It's not Gothel, it doesn't have the same name as anything like that. But they mention the fact that people that are disabled, children that are disabled, are not wanted. But they do it with a slur. The CR slur. And I'm just like, why was that a choice? Especially because this is something that was written in this day and age. Yes, it sort of feels more fantasy story, that kind of thing, but it's not a historical exactly. Like, it just, I don't know, why was that a choice? And I was looking up reviews on Goodreads, and I haven't read through everything because I don't necessarily think I'm DNFing yet, but there was one review that did DNF because of these issues, and they mentioned that they actually went back and looked now that the book has been published on Amazon to see some passages and like the stuff at the beginning of the story that you could probably see in the preview, which is about Roland, are still in there. So we don't know for sure necessarily, unless like I go to a bookstore and double check about the stuff in the Dr. Rapunzel storyline. The kids are playing. I don't know if it's still in there, but I was very taken aback by those. One of the children who is mentioned to be disabled, their name is Twisty, which again is very shocking, especially because the other child, I think, that was also apparently disabled in some way, either physically or mentally, was put, like, they're put away, so we don't get to see them on page, but the second child's name is not mentioned. Only the one that is horrible is mentioned. So yeah, those are my feelings right now. Like, this is something where I am slowly now debating if I want a DNF because of the fact that I'm doing this for a readathon. I'm at the point where if I did DNF this, I would want to find a different book to replace it. I'm not quite far enough in to feel comfortable saying I've completed the prompt. I'm not judging other people for how they do this readathon. If they decide they need to DNF a book, but they don't want to try and pick another one, that's fine, but that's where I am right now. Yeah, not where I thought this was going. I might give it one more chance today to see how this is going to go. But then if I'm still not really liking the direction it's taking, or if there's other things in it that I'm uncomfortable with, I think I'm going to DNF and find a different one-word title book. I have some manga that are one word that I have not read yet that I could do. So like I have some stuff that are shorter that would definitely work. Or I even have some graphic novel and comic stuff on e-reader that are one word, and I know that for a fact, so I might do that instead. We'll see. I'm gonna try one more time. We'll see. Good morning and happy Thursday. I've officially gotten halfway in Charming. I got halfway yesterday. Nothing really wrong necessarily in what I was reading, but I just don't think I'm motivated anymore to read it. I was having a little bit of like, do I actually DNF or not? Because I know I said I was going to give it one more chance, which I mean I did. I read another like 10%. And it's just not something that I'm wanting to read now this morning after I have woken up. I could have probably read a little bit more yesterday, but we had an appointment to take Presley to, and then I ended up having vertigo at that appointment, and so it's fun. I hadn't been actually like dizzy since Saturday when this first started, and it happened twice during that whole thing. So we'll see if this clears up soon or not, but I wasn't entirely sure what to do because I just didn't want to pick it up this morning. So I ended up going into the Readathon Discord literally like 25 minutes ago and just sort of like saying, hey, I think I want to DNF my book. I said I was going to give it another chance, and I did. It didn't necessarily do anything wrong during the last time I was reading, but this morning I'm just not feeling it. I have less than 2 hours left, which is true. I have like an hour 50, but should I push through or DNF? And so far, within 25 minutes, one person is saying I should push through, and 5 people are saying I should DNF. and 5 people are saying I should DNF, which I think I'm going to do, which means I need another book with a one-word title. Hi, you got your ball? Oh, did you get your ball? Is this your ball? You wanna throw it? You wanna throw it? Push. Good girl. Yay, ball. That's what I was saying. I need to find another book with a one-word title. Like I said yesterday, I do have some manga and stuff that have one-word titles. I need to figure out exactly what I want to read, but I think I might end up picking one of those just because I lost like Tuesday, Wednesday for this book that I'm DNFing. And so to get back on track, I think I want to do one of those, and then we'll continue on by picking the next prompt. Yeah, again, I mean, I haven't gotten anything more into the story, really. There's been a little bit more hints, in my opinion, that the guy that had stuff said about him at the beginning of the book might be classified as like an imp instead of a human, but still the way that they're going about it, I'm just not entirely sure I'm happy with that. And then everything just is feeling like it's taking forever. Like there was one whole chapter of one of our characters, I think it was Snow White. It's hard to tell, like they don't feel different really, but I think it was Snow White going about and talking to a million different princesses, and they all had this like story of a prince comes to save them and then runs off with money, and somehow nobody is connecting that it's the same guy. And I'm pretty sure it is, but then also because of that, and it was literally just like little story, little story, little story, I was trying to figure out who these princesses are supposed to be, and I can't tell if they're actually based on anything, like our main 3 princesses, and I just don't know. Like they haven't actually gone into the whole let's get revenge thing yet, and we're halfway through. We're halfway through. So yeah, I guess we're gonna DNF that and pick something else. Okay, so I'm happy to report that instead of Charming, I read Isola Volume 2 by Brandon Fletcher, and I have finished it. So I have officially moved on from this prompt. I don't think I'm going to jump on the computer yet until like after lunch. I don't know exactly what to think of this. On one hand, it's gorgeous, and I loved the art style in the first volume. In the first... They're all loud. In the first volume as well. But the thing about this is you don't get a ton of answers. And while I liked that aspect a little bit more in volume 1, because it was volume 1, I don't appreciate that as much in this volume, especially because it feels like it ends on a cliffhanger where stuff should be ongoing, but there haven't been any more issues since like 2020. And it doesn't seem like there's going to be. Certain sites and things say that it is an ongoing series, but I have no updates on this whatsoever, so I'm very disappointed in that aspect. So with that, I'm gonna have to maybe give it a full 3. I want to say the first volume I gave a 4 because it is gorgeous. It's very unique in like how it goes about stuff, because I know, especially in the first one, there are some pages where there's hardly any dialogue and it's just these gorgeous illustrations taking us through the story. And they do that some a little bit in here too, not as much, but I really like that aspect. And overall, this whole series is about 2 women. One is like the captain of the guard and one is the queen, but the queen has been cursed to be or look like a tiger. I think they also can't really speak as well, so maybe they are more tiger-like, but they're trying to find this like mystical island of Isola to change her back. But like I said, we don't really feel like we've gotten much done in this second volume, and there's no third volume or any issues either coming out. So like, I don't know where that leaves us. With that, I feel disappointed with this volume. So I think I'm gonna go with a 3. But like I said, that does mean I finished my 1-word title prompt. And so after lunch, probably after nap for Elliott too, we'll come back and jump back on the computer so that we can read through more story and pick another prompt. Okay, it is sufficiently after lunch. Elliott has had a nap, so it's actually like 2:30, and we are going to be picking our next prompt. So, okay, so we are going to say that we have finished our book, because we did. And then here we go. You bought a magical item and asked Pete about the journey. It seems like you're ready to begin. You say goodbye to Pete and exit the shop. Let's start. There is no going back, but what seems like the best path to travel? We're very quickly going from one prompt to the next, and again, I'm basing this on like what I would do as a character, based on the fact that I am an elf in here and doing that kind of thing. I'm going to pick the forest. We only have 3 options. We have the mountains, we have the forest, and we have the forest at night, but Pete told us not to go through the forest at night. So we're not doing that. We're just gonna regularly go through the forest. So now we need to read a book with nature on the cover. For that one, I'm going to be picking In the Lives of Puppets by TJ Klune. There is plenty of nature on the cover. It's basically a forest on the cover of this book. And this is actually the Patreon book club pick for June. I know it's July, but we were having a lot of people have issues getting this book, like if they were trying to get it through their library, because it was a new release, I think either at the very end of May or very beginning of June, and it was one of those things where people, it was very popular. It was new, it was popular, it was hard to get a hold of. Like, holds on the library side of things were taking weeks to get done. So I do have a physical copy. I've not started it yet. So this is going to fit in for the nature on the cover prompt. I'm very excited. I have loved basically every single thing that I've ever read by TJ Klune. Like Wolfsong, 5 stars. House in the Cerulean Sea, 5 stars. Under the Whispering Door, 5 stars. I know this is going to be a little bit different. This one has like robots. And I've heard that has some like asexual characters and stuff like that in here. Like, I'm very, very curious to get into it. I think our discussion for the Patreon book club is going to be amazing, which is going to happen near the end of this month. Like, I think it's next week sometime. So, yeah, this is going to be the next pick. Hello everyone, happy Friday. I can't believe it's Friday already, but at least we have another week of the readathon. I have gotten about 54 pages into In the Lives of Puppets. We have a cute little Rambo on the front. This is the Barnes & Noble exclusive edition, which obviously had the original cover, but we have this little like foil on the front, which I love, and then we have really cool end papers. So far, I'm really enjoying it. I mean, I'm only 50-something pages in, but I've absolutely been loving the dialogue and the banter between specifically Nurse Ratched, which I think is funny because One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest also has Nurse Ratched, and she's a little demented in here. And then Rambo, who is our little like robot vacuum. I have one quote already highlighted, not in my book because I don't do that, but I do use Bookly for when I read. And so I have like all the things I want to read that month, and when I go into the actual book, you can take a picture of quotes while you're reading and like highlight. And so I have that here, and so the quote so far that I have loved, which was not like super far into the book, was Nurse Ratched talking. You seem to be suffering from an intense anxiety disorder, but that is fine. We are all unique. Victor is asexual, Giovanni is old, and I have sociopathic tendencies that manifest themselves in dangerous situations. And then right after that, it says, hooray, Rambo squealed, we all have things. Like, I just think it's adorable. I'm looking forward to reading more today. I don't know what Presley did to his sister, but we do have sibling rivalry going on, so she's crying a little bit. But yeah, I just wanted to give you guys a little update. I have started this. I'm very excited to continue, especially since this is also my book club pick that we need to do by the end of the month anyway. So 50-something pages in, we're right here. Not like too far in, but I don't think it's going to take super long to read, and I'm very excited for it.
I'm doing this. Now I have to do the cat.
Okay. Hello everyone. It is actually Sunday afternoon. I don't think I've read anything since Friday night. I got like 100 and something pages in, in, you will, yes, in the Lives of Puppets. But this weekend has just not been a reading weekend very much, which is fine. Yeah, we're chilling with the kids. Presley's playing with Play-Doh. Elliott's hindering playing with Play-Doh. Yesterday we had a birthday party that we went to for 2 of the cousins. So we have some little clips of that I'll put in at the end of this little clip here, because I have not read anything else in the Lives of Puppets. I've really enjoyed what I have read. Sounds like Leon might be home from his thing. But I just wanted to give a quick update because I did read before, but I don't think I updated, but then I haven't done anything else this weekend yet. So, yeah, have the clips from the birthday party.
2, 1, go! Go, 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 go! Hey, you ran on your run. Go, 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 go. In the line, go, go. Go that way. Go that way. Go.
Good morning and happy Monday. It's Monday. We are at the official 2nd week of the Choose Your Own Adventure Readathon. Presley, you're right, really wants to do Play-Doh. And so even though I said, hey, I need to eat breakfast first, he decided he's gonna try it by himself. Elliott's playing around with other things. We'll see if she interferes or not. She has her own can of Play-Doh, jar of Play-Doh, cup of Play-Doh, whatever it is. It's actually not hers, but she's carrying one around right now because Presley only plays with them 1 color at a time. So I did want to update because I haven't really updated at all this weekend. I think officially over halfway into In the Lives of Puppets. I actually don't know my full percentage, but I can look it up because again, I'm on Bookly. I have all of my stuff, keeping track on there. I only have like 2 hours left, which is awesome. Yeah, I'm 55% in, so we're definitely getting into it. I'm loving the banter, like 100%. The sense of humor in here is like stuff that I remember from some of the other TJ Klune stuff, especially like the indie ones. Like I really, really love the characters and the banter and stuff that's in here. And then one thing that I don't know if everybody 100% knows, but it's called In the Lives of Puppets because it's technically like a Pinocchio retelling sort of thing. I'm not gonna get into spoilers, but there are some vibes and bits and pieces that I can see being like, okay, this is reminding me of Pinocchio, that kind of thing. There was one thing though yesterday, like it took me until yesterday to realize, even though I read about it for the first time, probably like Friday, because I didn't read it all Saturday, I think it was, and then I read yesterday. But there's a thing called the dogfish, and it took me until yesterday to realize that it's a whale. Like, this is Pinocchio, of course there's a freaking whale, but because it's sci-fi and robots and stuff, I haven't really seen much of like other creatures and animals. Like we've seen some little squirrels and things, but like nothing huge, and they're in the middle of a forest, so like it's a very robotic sort of thing, but apparently it looks like a whale, and it took me so long to realize that. I don't think it's going to come into play exactly the same as in Pinocchio, so that's why I'm not considering it a spoiler, but it took me forever to realize that it was a freaking whale. Especially because the part that I read yesterday, I got up to part 3. So I don't know how many parts there are, but I did get up to part 3. Okay, make it flat. I got up to part 3, and right up until part 3, we do get who I think is supposed to be like the guy that puts on the puppet show in the Pinocchio, I guess, movie. I've never read if it's based on a book or not, but like the original Disney Pinocchio, there is like that sort of like guy in like a traveling caravan who has puppets and makes Pinocchio put on a show. There is something similar to that in here, but it's not the same. Yeah, Riley's Pinocchio, but it's not the same. So that was something where I was like, okay, the parallels of this I'm starting to see, like, okay, that is supposed to be this, even though it's not exactly. So we are technically going on a journey in this book, and that's where we've gotten so far. Like I said, I'm on part 3. I don't know if there's a part 4 or not, but I'm at like page 241 out of 4:32, so I have less than 200 pages to go. It says I only have like 2 hours to go. Good job. So I realistically don't think this is going to happen today because almost every single day this week we have stuff going on. Today I need to go to the grocery store with the kids. Tomorrow Presley has an appointment. Wednesday Presley has an appointment. Thursday there's nothing, but then Friday Presley has an appointment. We just have a lot of things going on, especially when we're starting to get to what might be like the beginning of preschool. So we'll see. I'm just getting lots of parenting stuff done. And so I'm really enjoying this, really enjoying the characters. Again, the combo of the robots, because like we know one of the characters here is human, but like the combo of the robots, like they are robots, I guess AI sort of things, because they do have like their own personality and all this, but like they're all sort of weird, and I love how everything just matches up together. So far, so good. Okay, so we are back now. Have not read anything because we literally have just gone to Costco after breakfast stuff, and now we're having some lunch. And I just wanted to update, because I don't think I have since the beginning of this vlog, that the vertigo has gone away, which is good because I drove today. I drove today for the first time since I was having that. It started like the Saturday before this last one that we just had, completely randomly, basically, and I only had actual dizzy spells that day, and then I was getting treated for like an inner ear thing and whatnot. And then last Wednesday I also had a little bit, and it was very annoying because like even though in between Saturday and Wednesday I wasn't having dizzy spells necessarily, I just felt disgusting. My head hurt. It was just like pressure, all this kind of stuff. Well, I did like the Epley maneuver, because you can actually do it at home. It's not gonna hurt you. It's very slow moving. On Friday, twice I think, because of what had happened on Wednesday. And I think that pretty much solved it. This weekend was much better, and I just didn't ever give you guys an update. My husband still drove everywhere just in case, but today we took a trip to Costco, which is not too far away, and I don't have to like turn left at all when I'm driving on those streets. You want something over there? Okay, I'll get you some more. And because of that, I was like, okay, we'll test that out first, because I don't have to move to the left. And it was my right ear, so anytime I was like looking a specific way to the left, that's when it would happen. But I looked in the left yesterday in the car with the kids, and it didn't do anything. So I figured we were pretty good. And I want to tell you, I think we're good. So we are home now. We're having lunch. Presley's eating, Elliott's eating. I'm gonna go figure out something to eat, and then hopefully put her down for a nap. And then he wants to do Play-Doh. Oh, you're showing your meat? Showing his food. He wants to do Play-Doh. I want to read more, so that's the plan for after lunchtime. Okay, happy Tuesday. I actually did finish In the Lives of Puppets last night. Didn't necessarily think I was going to, but I read some during Elliott's nap yesterday, and so by the time I went up to bed, I only had like an hour 20 left, and so I finished it. I'm gonna give this a 4.5 stars. I loved this so much, but there were a couple things that I just didn't like as much to give it a 5 stars. So this is definitely very similar to some of the things that I love about TJ Klune's work. Like, it has really great characters, really great found family. I really love the humor and the banter in this. Like, I know I talked about it at least a couple times. I really loved how everything interacted. I loved Rambo and Nurse Ratched. I actually really loved Victor and Hap as well. I know that I saw a couple comments on like my Patreon book club stuff where people were really loving Rambo and Nurse Ratched, but because of how quirky they were, Victor and Hap sort of fell by the wayside. I still really loved them. I loved the characters. I loved all of that. Like, everything that I go into a TJ Klune book looking for, I got. This is also a Pinocchio retelling, and so some of it was like, oh, okay, I see the parallels, and then some of it wasn't. One of the things that I didn't like, and I don't think it's actually a spoiler, is the fact that when they go to see the blue fairy, it's not the same type of blue fairy as like in Pinocchio, but we do know quite quickly that Victor is asexual. I really liked how they talked about that in here. Like, it was just sort of a, okay, here's one of the quirks of our family. Victor is asexual. You know, Rambo has an anxiety disorder, like all these kind of things. It was just sort of put there. And they had a couple different explanations further throughout, but I really liked how it was inserted. Well, they go to see the Blue Fairy, and the Blue Fairy is in sort of a, like, sex dungeon thing, a brothel, that kind of thing. Like, robots could pay to live out certain, like, sexual fantasies, and they dived into that a little bit too much, in my opinion, especially when they introduced the Blue Fairy. The Blue Fairy is, like, non-binary, gender non-conforming, gender fluid. I don't know exactly which one, because there's no labels necessarily on these people except for Victor is asexual, and they tell us how they're gender, you know, fluid, but by showing us that they can grow boobs or a penis. And I'm just like, I didn't think that needed to be a thing, especially because they run a brothel. They sort of, like, do it in a more sexual way. I don't know. It just was something that I didn't think needed to be in there necessarily. And then the last thing might be a little bit more spoilery. I'll put spoilers at the bottom, but this book ends not as hopeful as the rest of the books from TJ Klune that I have read and loved, like the adult works. So like House in the Cerulean Sea, Under the Whispering Door, Wolfsong even. There are some depressing things that happen throughout those books. There are things that make you think. There are things that, like, tug at your heartstrings, but by the end, it's very hopeful. This one felt quite hopeful throughout, and then we get closer to the end and we have quite a bit of stuff that just feels hopeless, and then the book ends. And so it was just, the tone of it was not as nice for me personally at the end of the story. I still really loved it. Oh, one thing that I don't think I ever mentioned, but I did want to mention here, is Victor feels very autistic to me. I don't think, again, it's something that has a label on it, because Victor is like one of the last humans in a world of robots. Maybe they just don't have the terminology for it, but with a lot of the things that he goes through, a lot of the things that he's told about or were shown about his very young life, is stuff that could be very much an autistic presentation. I really did like having that in here as well, just so people know. I thought that's where it was going for me personally, like that's my takeaway from it, and I really did love this book. It just had those two little issues to make it a 4.5 instead of a 5. Now, we are going to continue our journey. So as we see here, it says once you finish your book, click here. We are going to click. And so, you make your way out of town and head toward the forest. You didn't think that you'd be coming back here so soon, although you've always felt more comfortable in the forest than in a town. There is no mistaking the entrance. There is a woven arch of trees over the path that you know you need to take. You feel like you're coming home as you enter the forest, and that's because we're an elf. There is different dialogue and, like, way that the story is told if you're not an elf. So we enter the forest. You've been walking along the path through the trees for about an hour, enjoying the birdsong and the breeze through the trees, when you step into a clearing. As soon as you enter, the birdsong stops. It is quiet, too quiet. Then you hear a rustle through the trees. You think that something must be coming into the clearing when you realize that the trees are moving, slowly at first and from farther away from the clearing, until you can't keep track of even the trees closest to you. Moving faster and faster, they start to become a blur. Then all of a sudden they stop. You look behind you, but you can no longer see where the path was. In fact, the trees are so close together that you can't see any space around them. They are actually touching one another. You think that there has to be a gap somewhere, and so you start walking along the perimeter of the clearing until you start to see writing on a few of the trees. There are 5 trees with numbers on them. 5, 15, 1,115, 3,115, 132,115. And the text says, what is the next number in this sequence? So now, this is a riddle. If you get the riddle right, you move past whatever danger is in the clearing. If you get the riddle wrong, there is a danger. And this is the same sort of thing that happens on the mountain path. It's a different riddle, but like if you get it wrong, you might have to face a peril. So for me, in this story, because if you just pass it, you just sort of pass through. I actually think a lot of the more interesting things that happen in this story are when you get things wrong. So I am purposefully going to pick the wrong answer. So I'm gonna go with the shortest sequence of numbers here. And we're gonna continue. So nothing happens. You sigh. You must have been wrong. The trees haven't moved, but you really need to get out of here to continue your journey. Just as you're thinking about what to do, you hear a leaf crinkle as if it was stepped on. You turn to see someone has entered the clearing. They have skin as brown as the tree bark behind you. Blue and pink flowers are woven through their hair, and they are very comfortable in their skin, seeing as they are not wearing any clothes. You've never seen a nymph before, but you've heard plenty of stories from the other elves that you live with. What are you going to do? So now we have two options. We can either try asking them for directions, or we can use the pet rock. This is the instance, so either here or in the mountain pass, if you get that answer wrong, this is the instance where your item can come and help you. Now, I personally have a dilemma because I know this story. I wrote everything. The thing is, if for any reason you did not pick up an item, there is not a 100% chance that you will perish in this encounter. There are some races that have certain stats that will survive this even if you don't have an item. Same thing for if you're under the mountain and you have a peril there. The thing is, they're not all the same either way. So I do know personally that if you don't have an item and you're an elf, you will still survive this forest encounter because you are from the forest, you have some extra knowledge and things that other races don't. I personally do like the try asking them for directions thing, but I also know because in the Discord, people were really into buying the sword in the item shop. They were not trusting the fact that the pet rock was going to work. So I think we're gonna have to pick the pet rock and show you guys what that means. So we're gonna use the pet rock. You reach into your pocket and grasp the pet rock that you bought from Pete. What the heck am I going to do with this, you think? You look over at the nymph who, so far, hasn't given you much notice. Their eyes are downcast looking at a plant growing from the ground. You start to take a small step back when a twig breaks under your foot. The nymph's head snaps up, their wide eyes find yours and they hiss, lips pulling back to show you rows of sharp, pointy teeth. Panic. You panic, you throw the pet rock at the nymph, and maybe it was luck, maybe it was skill, but you hit the nymph square on the temple. They start bleeding from the wound, and you notice that their blood is green. The blow to their head seems to have dazed it, and they are no longer interested in you. You decide that you don't want a chance stepping anywhere. You don't want to step on the wrong thing and remind the nymph that you are here. So you decide to try to examine everything around you. You know that you have to be able to leave through the trees somehow. And after looking around, there is one tree that does stand out. It's off to your right. It's the only one that has a green tinge to it. You look back at the nymph and their green blood. Could their blood be the answer? You have nothing better to try, so you decide that you need their blood on the tree. You really don't want to get close to the nymph after seeing what their teeth look like, but the pet rock bounced off their skull and is closer to you. You decide that you have to take the chance. You run. You grab the pet rock that does have some green blood on it, thank the maker, and you run to the tree. You glance over your shoulder and see that the nymph is attempting to get to their feet. You shove the rock toward the tree, making sure to get the green on the bark. The tree moves out of the way so that you can see the path through the forest. You hurriedly exit the clearing and follow the path. You feel the tension leave you when you hear the birds start to sing again. You continue for a while more along the path until the dense forest opens up and you emerge onto a road. You step out of the forest and onto a road. Now I will say I personally like the pet rock in the mountain pass more. I do like it here as well. And then the spell book was another one that people were not wanting to purchase because they were like, a book filled with only love spells, what the heck am I gonna do with that? It does work in both places as well, and actually those are another one of the things that I really like. So all of the items work. I didn't want to like say anything too crazy in Discord because of that, but like everything works. They just have different ways to get out of stuff. Again, if you don't have an item, because it was optional, you don't have to buy anything. There is the possibility to still get out. However, there is the possibility to die. Not everybody is going to survive if you don't have an item. The elf would have, but because people were doubting the pet rock, I had to show you. So we have made it out of the clearing. The road that you need to travel next is paved with brick, but it looks worn down. Some of the bricks are chipped or missing completely, and it is severely overgrown. It looks like no one has come down this way in years. You know you should be on your way, but after escaping the nymph, you feel exhausted. Do you want to take a break to gain some health? So this is an optional prompt. Again, it does say it's a bonus prompt. I'm going to say yes, I want to eat, because it says to eat a snack. No, seriously, that's it. This was just a fun take a little break sort of thing. I actually do need to eat breakfast still, so that's what we're going to do. I know that I'm going to eat breakfast because I have not yet, so I am going to say continue. This was just a fun little prompt, so we're going to continue. You decide to take a small break to eat. You sit just off the road with your back against a tree and enjoy eating in the shade. You stop eating once you feel full and refreshed. You might have taken some time to stop, but you're glad you did. You now feel ready to continue your adventure. According to the stranger who gave you this quest, at the end of this road is your destination. You start off with a bit more pep in your step. You've been traveling along the road for a few hours now, and the sun has started to dip in the sky when you see it. A large stone-crafted building is looming. As you get closer, you know that this has to be the temple. It is sturdily built but ancient. There is some evidence of erosion, and the plants have started to overtake it, just like the road. But there is something in the air around it. You walk up to the entrance, and as you do, torches light up as if by magic. You feel an anxious excitement. Enter the temple. You enter the temple and are greeted with an entryway. It almost feels like a reception area. There are worn down benches and a waterfall that is all dried up except for a trickle. You move past the entry and the torches still light up as you move, revealing a large room with 4 doors opposite you. Let's check those doors. You walk closer to the doors and see that they all have different symbols on them. They seem to represent the 4 different elements. Which door do you decide to enter? So we have air, earth, fire, and water. Once you pick, you get your prompt. So I know what everything is. I think I've been debating what I want to do because I have a book I really, really want to read. And then I have other things that I could read based on the prompts. And so I think I don't want to necessarily cheat, but at the same time, I have a book that I wanted to read that I really, really wanted to read. So I think I might put it up for a vote. I have 2 rooms that I want to show you guys in this thing. I personally don't actually know what I would pick if it was just me. Air, earth, fire, or water. I don't have a preference. The only reason I have a preference is because I know what I would pick. So what I think I'm gonna do is I'm going to post a quick poll on Instagram because I'm not actually going to be able to read for a little while today. Presley has an appointment this morning, and so I'm gonna be going out of the house and doing things. So I think what I will do is, like I said, I'm gonna post a poll with maybe 2 options because I know for a fact one of them I want to do and the other one I would really like to show you, just because I think that one's fun with an elf. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna just post a poll for either fire or water, which I know some people are gonna be like, really? Yeah, fire or water. And that way, I'll just tell you, water is the one I want to do based on the book I would like to read. Fire is one that I think would be very fun to show you, especially since I don't think a lot of people have picked fire yet, because fire does sound more dangerous than the other ones. But I can pick something for fire if I really, really need to. I would prefer water just because I already have a book that I would like to read. But I think those are the 2 that I'm going to post a poll on Instagram stories and have people vote on. Okay, so we are back from Presley's appointment. We've had lunch and I'm going to check on the Instagram story. I basically just put a fire or water sort of thing, like, hey, this is for the Choose Your Own Adventure Readathon. What room do I go in? Water or fire? And it is showing that an overwhelming majority, I mean only 14 people voted, but 10 people voted for water and 4 people voted for fire. So that is what we are going to do then. We are going to click water. My screen recorder thing doesn't want to work right now. I'll take a picture so you guys can still see it right up here. But we're gonna say water, get prompt, and it just says to read a book with LGBTQ plus characters or by an LGBTQ plus author because rainbows come after rain. I did try to tie each of these rooms into a reason why I picked them, not just to have like different things for the different rooms. So like these ones are all prompts that are like LGBTQ. There was one for a person of color author. Like they're things that are like an overall theme in the book too, like body positivity was one. So I did want them to be tied into what these things are in some way. So because rainbows come after the rain, water is a book with LGBTQ plus characters or by an LGBTQ plus author. This is the one I was leaning towards anyway, and I did not tell anybody that, just you guys. So I'm gonna be reading I Am Not Your Chosen One by Evelyn Benvey. This is something that was on my TBR anyway that I did not get to. I'm very excited. This came in a rainbow crate, so it's a gorgeous edition. And even when you get under the dust jacket and take it off, like very shiny, but also very gorgeous. Gorgeous end papers. Like I'm very, very excited. It does say it's like 380 something pages, so we'll see how quick it actually is to read. But this is LGBTQ, specifically because Rainbow Crate tells us, and I love that, we have biromantic male, gray sexual male, non-binary, and sapphic representation in here. So yes, it is also fantasy and probably fantasy adventure based on the fact that like I guess we have a character who is a chosen one who does not want to be a chosen one. I'm very curious about this. So yeah, this is going to be my next read. Hello everyone, happy Thursday. So I have not started I Am Not Your Chosen One yet. I can't even remember the last time I actually like talked to you guys. I don't even think it was yesterday. I did go out yesterday and film a video. So Tuesday night, I was so cranky. I knew my period was coming, and it did. And so yesterday, which was Wednesday, I was on my period. I had cramps. Our internet also went out, and so I actually did end up taking the kids out to craft stores, and we filmed a video for that, which I did not even get to edit yet because then Elliott ended up having a fever yesterday. Everything just sort of came on at once. It felt like I actually ended up taking her to the ER last night just because that was the only thing open. But her fever was the highest it has ever been. And she was breathing sort of quickly, which they assured me is just because it was a higher fever. It wasn't anything too crazy, but we gave her some medicine. They checked her out. No ear infections, no UTIs, no anything like that. She's actually perfectly fine this morning. No fever anymore, so it was just, I guess, a one-day thing. At least that's what we're hoping for. But so I have not read anything yet. Like I said, did not even finish filming the video or editing the video yesterday, so that'll probably be up on Saturday, hopefully. Yeah, it's you on the camera. That's you. Is that Elliott? Yeah. So we also slept in this morning because we went to the ER, the Children's Hospital. We left the house a little after 11:30 last night, actually closer to like 11:40. Got to the hospital like right at midnight. I did not get home until almost 4. So we slept in this morning. I'm hoping to get some reading done today. But in general, we're just sort of chilling. Presley's over here doing his Play-Doh. He's been really into Play-Doh lately. Right now he's doing like a mold sort of thing. Sometimes we do cookie cutters and things like that. But yeah, we're just gonna chill and see what happens today. Like I said, she's doing so much better. No fever at all right now, so I don't even know exactly what was going on. We'll see. But yeah, that's my update. I have my really, really pretty edition right here ready to go, and I have not even started it. Not even started it. So yeah, I just wanted to at least update you guys because that's what we did yesterday. Okay, the fever came back right around lunchtime. She's had a nap and everything, but we're still just like bleh. So I have not read anything yet. We will see how this goes. I've been actually a little bit tempted to like pick up a graphic novel or something just to read something. So I might either pick one of mine or go on either like Libby or Hoopla and find something that way. Because yeah, just, you know, bloody blah kids. Are you so silly? Yeah. I love you. Yeah. Is that you? Is that the Elliott? Yes. Okay, so today is Friday. This is the little sicky girl.
It is Friday.
It is Friday. Who is feeling better right now. Still had some fever earlier today. We've been treating it, making sure she has... Oh, your tiger. Thank you, yes. Making sure she has liquids, and she's actually eating pretty well too. And the baby tiger, you're right. Good job. So it's been doing okay. It just means...
To the camera.
Elliott is showing them to the camera. It just means that I haven't really been able to do me things because she's literally just been a barnacle attached to my side. And actually the video that's going to go up on Saturday, that was supposed to go up on Thursday, which was the like going to craft stores stuff. I do see you. The haul portion of that was like right around when she was getting sick, like that morning. She was perfectly fine when we were out and about doing stuff. And I was editing that video yesterday a little bit, and as soon as we get to that portion where I'm doing the haul of it, you can tell she does not want to be put down. Like, she is literally attached to me, and that was like the first indication that she was sick and had a little bit of a fever right around then too. And so that's what we've been a barnacle attached to mommy. So I haven't been able to do as much of my stuff personally, which means I think, even though I hate to say it, at least for this readathon, I don't think I'm gonna get through I Am Not Your Chosen One. I really wanted to read it. I have it right here beside me, the purple one. I just don't think it's gonna happen. So I did end up picking up the Backstagers Volume 1 by James Tinian IV. I also checked out Volume 2 from my library as well. I got the first one through Hoopla from my library, and they have the second volume, which I think is like the complete volume minus any sort of holiday issues. And I finished the first volume. I want to continue the second one as well, just to say that I did more than just like one extra volume of a comic. And these do fit the LGBTQ prompts because it's an all-boys school situation, and there are boys that have hints at being in a relationship with each other, and there is also a trans masc character in there as well. So it definitely fits the LGBTQ prompt. But besides that, it's about these people that are backstagers. They work backstage in like the high school theater production scene that they have going on here. But it's mystical as well. Like, the whole backstage area has like these crazy portals, and nobody knows where the doors go, and the tunnels move, and it's interesting, but I'm not too sure that it's actually given us any story or plot or anything like that recently. So I gave the first volume 3.5 because I was expecting a little bit more. It is cute. The art style is cute. I want to continue the second volume because it looks like that's all there is to like the main story is 2 volumes. So I do want to do that. And of course I read that during her nap time, so it was very quick and easy to read. But yeah, that's my update right now. So technically I have finished the read a book by an LGBTQ author or that has LGBTQ plus characters. So I could continue the storyline at like any time. I think I'm gonna finish Backstagers Volume 2 first, especially because Elliott is not going to let me go jump on my computer and film that right now. And then we will meet back up to do this the last prompt. We need to continue going through the story and actually get to the last prompt that we need to do. And today's Friday. The readathon is technically only going through Sunday, so we only have 2 more days left after today. So hopefully whatever I pick for that, I can also pick something that is quick to read, because who knows what I can do with these kids. And just like that, it is Sunday. I did finish Backstagers Volume 2. Yeah, I did finish Backstagers Volume 2, which I gave a 4-star, and the first volume I gave a 3.5, so I did like it a little bit more, but that's basically everything except for there is like a 3rd volume, an encore volume, that apparently has like Halloween and Valentine's Day-ish stuff. I might read that. It was cute, but it wasn't like as much actual story and explanation as I would have liked. Elliott is still sick. We're not entirely sure what it is. We've been to the doctor again. for everything. They're basically just ruling out stuff. She doesn't have flu B, she doesn't seem to have a UTI, her ears are good. I'm not entirely sure what it is, but she still has a little bit of a fever. Today is doing a little bit better, but it's still morning, and her fever doesn't always kick in until later. So we will check that out. I've been crocheting a little bit in the meantime, which I forgot to like vlog or tell you about, because vlogging with sick kids is so much harder because you're focused on other things than the camera. But technically, I 100% fulfilled my read an LGBTQ+ prompt. So the next thing that I want to do is read through the next part of the story with you so that we can get the last prompt, because today is the last day of the readathon. I already know what I'm going to choose, and so I sort of already have a book in my head for it. So let's just continue that way. So I'll put it up here. Once you finish your book, we're going to click here. I know, yeah, she's just not feeling so great. Okay, you open the door and enter the water room. The door shuts behind you, closing you into darkness. You turn back to try the door, but there is no handle. A split second later, the torches in the room light up, creating a path that leads you to the opposite side of the room. You see something written on the wall. It looks like in order to pass, you must answer the question, what percentage of our world is covered by water? So obviously each question in here is going to be related to whatever element you chose. Again, I'm going to choose the wrong answer because I do think it is more interesting. However, choosing a wrong answer could mean that you die. These rooms are about 50-50 chance, just so you know. So I'm gonna choose a wrong answer. Nothing moves. You wait, hoping that a door will open somewhere, but you must have gotten the answer wrong. Then you feel a drop of water fall on your head, followed by another. The water is coming out of the ceiling like rain. You're not worried about a little bit of water, but a lot can be dangerous. What do? I'll swim if I need to. The rain starts to pick up and you realize that the water is not draining. The water covers your ankles, your knees, your waist. It just keeps rising. Soon you are keeping yourself afloat by treading water. You thank the maker that you learned how to swim. Your arms and legs are burning with the effort of keeping your head above water. You don't know exactly how long you can keep this up. The water has risen so high that you can actually reach out and touch the ceiling. You're starting to worry that the room is going to flood completely when the water level decreases. Almost as soon as it came, the water drains. Somehow you survived. The wall slides away in front of you and reveals a small hallway. Taking a deep breath to steady your nerves, you walk over to the opening. So yeah, if you don't know how to swim, you don't make it out of the water room necessarily alive. Into the hallway. The hallway that you are in now is narrow. There are no branching paths. There is only the room that you came from and the unknown in front of you. You think nothing could be as harrowing as the flood that you just lived through, so you continue forward. Down at the end of the hallway, there's an archway. We're gonna enter the archway. You enter to see a large circular chamber, and in the center of the chamber is a pedestal, and on top of the pedestal is the book. It is obviously put in a place of reverence, and as you look around, you see a mural on the walls. It depicts the book being used during births and deaths. You can't read the language that is written on the bottom of the mural. Stop pulling my hair, baby. 1, because you don't know what ancient language it is, and 2, because the writing is faded in some places from time. You walk up to the book. There is something about it that feels sacred, but it also looks neglected, abandoned by the people who used to revere it. What do you want to do with the book? So we can either take the book and get a prompt, or leave the book and get a prompt. Bless you. So we are going to take the book. So we need to read a book that is your most recent acquisition. I'm going to stop the little recording thing there to take you over to the bookshelf. Come here. So now, my most recent acquisition, because I actually just got a book recently, is Jim C. Hines' Terminal Uprising. It's the second book in a series, and the other book that I have, the first book in the series, is something I've had for a long time. So we're actually just gonna skip that and go to the actual, like, last time I went to the bookstore, I got a book haul, minus The Princess and the Grilled Cheese Sandwich. What you see here is basically my most recent stuff. The Princess and the Grilled Cheese Sandwich is something that I got more recently than the book haul, but I've already read that. So what I have is The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston, Yami Hara by Mizuki Sujimura, which is a light novel, V.E. Schwab stuff, like a Darker Shade of Magic series, but like these are just new covers. I've already read that. And then I have some manga. So in order to finish today, we're gonna read a volume of a manga. This is My Love Mix-Up. Let me grab the one we're gonna read. You guys are down here now. It's My Love Mix-Up Volume 5. This is by Wataru Hinakure. I've been absolutely loving this series because every single volume has a mix-up, but it is LGBTQ as well. And so this is what we're going to read today. And like I said, I am technically changing this a little bit only because my most recent acquisition is a sequel to something that I've had for like 2, 3, 4 years and have not read, and I would definitely have to read the first book first, and that for sure does not fit the prompt and will not be something I can actually read today. So we're gonna read a manga that I feel like is actually doable with the fact that this baby is still sort of sick and apparently chewing on my hair. So that's the plan, a manga for today. I am planning to actually finish that. It'll probably be during one of her nap times, and then I will update you with that and how the rest of this adventure goes. Elliott, where you going? Yeah, where you going? Ah? Peekaboo. Yeah? Don't climb on that. Are you arguing with me? After her feeling crappy all weekend and most of today, it looks like she's finally feeling better. Yeah, by stealing some of her brother's toys. What are you doing? Can you make it through? You can. Oh, almost. Hello. Yeah, hello. What'd you get? A zebra? But in other news, I have finished my manga. I read it during Elliott's last nap. She had 2 naps today because, again, she was not feeling so good earlier, but she's climbing on chairs now. Elliott, get down. Thank you. But I did finish My Love Mix-Up Volume 5 by Wataru Hinakure. It's a 5-star read. So far, every single book, every single volume in this series has been 5 stars. I've been absolutely loving it. It is male-male romance, LGBTQ, sort of like a discovering yourself, coming of age, figuring out your sexuality, or even like who you like romantically. I've absolutely been loving it. Every single volume has some sort of mix-up in it. The art style is really adorable, but then at times it can be really silly. Sort of reminding me of like Tamaki from Ouran High School Host Club, for one of the characters specifically, but like in a cute way. Like I really love this manga so much. It was very quick and easy to read, but like adorable. Yes, Elliott's still climbing on chairs. This girl right there. Try and climb on that table. You already climbed on that chair. No climbing on the table. Don't argue. You get down. Can you get down? Do you need help? Really? You be careful. You sit down. Get down. Elliott. Okay, well it looks like I'm gonna have to deal with that and then like come back to you guys to finish the actual adventure story thing and close out the readathon. Okay, it is Sunday night after dinner, but this is like the only time I've had to myself to film this now for you. So I did talk to you earlier about finishing the manga I was reading, so we are now going to go back to the story and finish this out. So we're going to click here because we have finished the book. And it says, you decide to take the book. That was your main goal after all. You carefully and respectfully take the book off of the pedestal and take it back to town. The mysterious person meets you to exchange the book for your very hard-earned money. Then they tell you how their ancestors were of the people the book belonged to. They didn't like the thought of such a special book being abandoned any longer. They want to bring the book back to their family and use the book as it was intended. You are very happy that you could bring the book back to someone who will treat it with the respect it deserves. The end. So I did originally want it to be a little like gray area of if it was good to take the book or not, and originally I also wanted it to be the opposite, where like if you took the book it wasn't as respectful, but you know, stories have their own life to them. I ended up definitely picking that taking the book actually was still good. That mysterious person was mysterious. Maybe you thought they were creepy, I don't know, but their intentions were good at least. So that is the readathon, or at least the portion that I did, because there were different paths you could take, different monsters you could potentially meet, different endings, and like even on this one you had two endings. You could either take the book or leave the book. There was also a secret ending as well. Like there were other options. I know quite a few people have done this, and some people definitely had different endings. Some people were happy about it, some people weren't, but I have a lot of fun doing these readathons, so thank you for everyone who has joined me in this quest. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up to let me know. If you have any ideas for new themes for this readathon, you can always leave a comment down below because I am planning on doing more of these. And subscribe if you would like to see more videos, because I do have videos coming out on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So I will see you then. Bye.